justitiam tuam filio regis, gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto, sicut erat in principio et nunc et semper et in saecula saeculorum. Amen. Ecce adveni Dominator Dominus et regnum in magum eius et potestas et imperio. Cum Sancto Spiritu in gloria Patris.
Dominus vobiscum.
Et cum spiritu tuo.
Oremus. Deus, qui odierna die, in unigenetum tum gentibus terra ducera verasti, concede propitius, ut quiam de expire cognotimus, usque ad contemplandam speciem tue, celsitudinis perducamur, per indum Domino nostrum Iesum Christum Filium Tuum, qui tecum vivere dragnatur unitate Spiritus Sancti Decus, per omnia saecula saeculorum.
Amen.
Lectio is et prophetes. Surge luminari Jerusalem, quia venit lumen tuum, et gloria Domini super te ortas, quia ecce tenebrae orienteram, et calico populus, super te alta morietur Dominus, et gloria eius in te videbitur, et ambula abundentes in lumine tuum, et reges in splendore ortus tui. Levan circuito oculos tuos, et vide, omnes isti congregati sunt venerum tibi, filii tui de longe venient, et filii tui de latere surgent. Tunc vide bised afflues mirabitur dilatabitur cor tuum, quando conversa fuerit ad te multitudo maris, fortitudo gentium venerit tibi. Inundatio camalorum operiate, dromedari medianet appa, omnes de sabe venient, auremetus deferentes, et larem Domino annunciantes.
Omnes desata aurum etus efferentes, et laudem Domino annunciante. Etium quia gloria est. Alleluia, Alleluia. In
Dominus vobiscum,
et cum spiritu tuo,
consequentia sancti evangelici, secundum Mattea sancti evangelici, secundum Matteum.
gloria tibi, Domine.
Cum natus est Iesus in Bethlehem Juda, in diebus Herodis regis, ecce magia variante venerunt Hierusalimam dicentes, ubi est qui natus est Rex Judeorum. Vidimus enim stella meus in oriente, et venimus adorare ecum. Audiens autem Herodes Rex turbatus est, et omnis Hierusalima cum illo, et congregans omnes principes sacerdotum et scribas populi, suscitabatur ab egis, ubi Christus nasceretur. Acidi dixerunt ei, in Bethlehem Judae, sic enim scriptum est per prophetam, et tu Bethlehem terra Juda, ne quaquam minima est in principibus Juda, ex te enim exiet dux, qui regat populum meum Israel. Tunc Herodes, clam vocatis magis, dirigenter didicita vegis tempus stede, quea paruit egis. Et mittens iros in Bethlehem dixit, ite et interrogate dirigenter de puero, et cum inveneritis renunciate mihi, ut et ego veniens adorem eius. Qui cum audisent regem abierunt, ecce stella, quam vidarant in oriente, ante cetebat ecus, usque dum veniens stadet supra, ubi erat videntes autem stellam, gavis sunt gaudio magno valle, et intrantes domum invenerunt puerum cum Maria patre ejus, et procedentes auraverunt ejus. Aracartis de saudis suis, obtuderunt ei monada, auram tus et miram. Et responsu accepto in somnis ne redirent ad Herodem, per adigambiam reversi sunt in regionem suam. Our epistle appointed for this and the Epiphany of the Lord is taken from that of Isaiah. Arise, be enlightened, O Jerusalem, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. For behold, darkness shall cover the earth, and a mist the people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. And the Gentiles shall walk in thy light, and kings in thy brightness of thy coming. Lift thine eyes round about and see, all these are gathered together. They are come to thee. Thy son shall come from afar, and thy daughters shall arise up at thy side. Then shalt thou see and abound, and thy heart shall be wonder and be enlarged. When the multitude of the sea shall be converted to thee, the strength of the Gentiles shall come to thee. The multitude of camels shall cover thee, and the dromedaries of Median and Ephah. All they from Saba shall come, bringing gold and frankincense, and showing forth praise to the Lord. And our gospel is taken from that of St. Matthew. When Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judah, in the days of King Herod, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to adore him. And King Herod, hearing this, was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And assembling together all the chief priests and the scribes of the people, he inquired of them where Christ should be born. But they said to him, In Bethlehem of Judah. For so it is written by the prophet, And thou, Bethlehem, the land of Judah, art now the least among the princes of Judah. For out of these shall come forth the captain that shall rule thy people Israel. Then Herod, privately calling the wise men, learned diligently of them the time of the star which appeared to them. And sending them into Bethlehem, said, Go and diligently inquire after the child. And when you have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and adore him, that I also may come and adore him. Who, having heard the king, went their way. And behold, the star, which they had seen in the east, went before them until it came and stood over where the child was. And seeing the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And entering into the house, they found the child with Mary his mother, and falling down, they adored him. And opening their treasures, they offered him gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having received an answer in sleep that they should not return to Herod, they went back another way into their country. Please be seated. Jesus Christ. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost, amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death.
Caspar, Melchior, and Balthazar are buried in the Cathedral of Cologne, Germany. These are real men. This is not a fictional story. And no, their names do not appear in the Gospel because their names are not important. But that doesn't mean their names are lost to us, nor does it mean that they were fictional characters. The wise men had come from the east. Now it says in the Gospel, we have seen his star in the east. Does that mean the star was in the east? Or were they in the east? What does that mean? It could be both. We have seen his star in the east. Well, we have to understand that all stars are in the east. Stars appear in the east just like the sun does, and they set in the west just like the sun does. They traverse the sky from east to west in a 24-hour period. Now, you might think that the stars are moving and the earth is stationary, or you might think that the earth is spinning and the stars are stationary. Either way, the timing is the same and the movement is the same. It's a 24-hour period. They go all the way around. In a 12-hour period, they go from that horizon to that horizon. I'm assuming this is east, although I'm not. You just run with me with that. And this is the east. In terms of this sermon, this is the east, okay? We have seen his star in the east. It's not the star that was in the east. They were in the east. And they saw the star. The star rises. And to them, it meant something special. That the King of the Jews was born. How did they know that? How did they know that? It was a prophecy. A prophecy. Now, they come to Jerusalem 2 years later. They didn't come 2 days later. 2 years later, they come to Jerusalem. If the king is going to be the king, and the king is a baby, and the king was just born, they don't have to come tomorrow. It took them 2 years to come. According to the time that they told Herod. Herod diligently inquired as to when the star appeared. Diligently inquired, it was 2 years. Now, so in our manger scenes, of course, we put the kings together with the shepherds. That didn't happen. Although our manger scenes are correct insofar as both the shepherds and the magi are both kneeling down and both adoring Christ. Both adoring Christ. It happens to be, though, that the shepherds are Jews and the magi are Gentiles. Now, we are told that the shepherds were given a sign. The sign given to the shepherds is, you will find a babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. There was only one babe wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger. Who in their right mind would ever put a baby in a manger? No one, unless they had to. There was only one baby like that. That's why it was a sign, a unique sign that this was Christ. The Magi are not given that sign. They're given another sign. Now, they come to Jerusalem to King Herod and they say, where is Christ to be born? Herod consults his scribes and they consult their prophecies, and they say, Bethlehem is where the king, the Messiah, is to be born. He is going to rule his people Israel. It's in Bethlehem that the Messiah is going to be born. Now, the Magi didn't know that. They didn't have that prophecy. The Jews didn't have the prophecy about the star. The Magi didn't have the prophecy about Bethlehem. Two different peoples, chosen people, not the chosen people. Two different prophecies that complement each other, but don't overlap by much. Therefore, the kings coming from the east, they don't know where to find the child, so they ask Herod, and he says, okay, you'll find them in Bethlehem. But they saw the star 2 years before. 2 years before. They could have looked up into the sky. Herod said, what star? He could have looked up into the sky. This star is gone. But the star came back. The star came back. Now, we know for certain that when Christ was born, after 8 days, he was circumcised. And after 40 days, he was brought to the temple in accordance with the law of Moses. He was brought to the temple for the purification of the Blessed Virgin Mary and the presentation of the firstborn son, because the firstborn son belongs to God. They presented the firstborn son to God on the 40th day after his birth. We celebrate that, of course, on February the 2nd. Now, after they did that, we are told explicitly that Joseph took Mary and the child back to Nazareth. Nazareth. What was he going to say to Mary? Okay, woman, I know it's been 40 days and you're impatient, but back to your cave. Are they still living in the cave after 40 days? Suffering the winter chill and all of that? No, they're not there for 40 days. Joseph was poor. He wasn't stupid. They went back to Nazareth. Now, we celebrate the Epiphany 12 days after Christmas. Did they show up 12 days after Christmas? No. These 12 days of Christmas are liturgical time, not actual time. The 8 days of the circumcision, that's actual time and liturgical time. The 40 days in between Christmas and the purification, that's actual time and liturgical time. The 12 days of Epiphany, however, only liturgical time. 12 is a representation of fullness. In the fullness of time, revelation was given to the Gentiles. 12 days of Christmas. First revealed to the Jews, in the fullness of time revealed to the Gentiles. The Magi are the first Gentiles to adore the King of the Jews. They come in the fullness of time, in their own time, which was 2 years after his birth. Therefore, Herod says he was born in Bethlehem. Where did the Magi go? Did they go to Bethlehem? The Holy Family is no longer in Bethlehem. They're in Nazareth. That's why Herod couldn't find them. He looked. The Magi see the star which appears again. Now, the first star was a natural phenomenon. It's a planet which appears in the context of a constellation of stars. Constellation of stars don't move. The planets are wanderers. They appear in a different place in every night. They're in a slightly different place than they were the day before. When the star is exactly in the belly of the Virgin, that was the prophecy. When the Virgin has conceived, the Messiah is born. Now, the planet doesn't appear again. The second star was a miraculous star. The second star could only be seen by the Magi. Number one, could only be seen by the Magi. Number two, it appears, and it points out to them where the Christ is born, not where the Christ is born. It points out to them where the Christ is. And it points out to them so specifically, they find the house where he is. Now, there's no swaddling clothes and there's no manger. How can a star at infinite distance from the surface of the earth point out a particular house? It can't. It's too far away. It's too indistinct. This star was not an ordinary star. This was a miraculous star. This pointed out the very house. They didn't have any other sign. The Magi have a miraculous star that pointed out in Nazareth which house. And it stood exactly over the house. Only they could see it. That's why the henchmen of King Herod couldn't find the child. And the Magi opened their treasures, gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and they adored the King of the Jews. Now, Herod himself called himself Christus, Messiah. So when the Magi came and said, the Messiah has been born, Herod could have said, I'm already here. What are you talking about? But because they were talking about some heavenly prophecy or a prophecy of heavenly bodies, he knew that this was a grave threat to his own family and his own lineage. This was a grave threat to him. Therefore, he had evil designs. But he was not stupid. He could have said, 2 years ago was exactly the time of the census of a Caesar Augustus. Because of the time of the census of Caesar Augustus, who was in Jerusalem, who was in Bethlehem at that time? Everyone of the house and the family of David. So Herod set out and said, okay, just to be sure, I'm going to kill every 2-year-old child and below, just to be sure, in Bethlehem. But then I'm going to send my henchmen town to town, and we're going to look for anyone who's of the house of David, because this is super important to me. This affects the very future of my house, of my royal house. Or they were going to be discovered in Nazareth. And when the henchmen of Herod come up to the town square and they say, tell us who is of the house of David, all the townspeople would have said, oh, they're of the house of David, Mary and Joseph and their 2-year-old child. A male child? Yeah, a male child. Therefore, the angel appeared to Joseph and said, go with haste in the middle of the night to Egypt. Why did they have to go in the middle of the night? Because if any of the townsfolk had known where they were going, the henchmen of King Herod would have found out. Oh, Mary and Joseph and their 2-year-old boy, they're no longer at home. Where did they go? Well, they told me they were going to Egypt. Then the henchmen of Herod would have gone to Egypt and made a little pilgrimage, a pilgrimage of evil. No, they had to leave in the middle of the night, and they didn't tell anyone where they were going. It was important. So Joseph, the protector of Mary and Jesus, went in the middle of the night to escape the murderous designs of the pretender Messiah, Herod the Great, in order to protect the life of the real Messiah, who was born in poverty, without any fanfare, without any wealth, without any position, without any power, without any prestige. The real Messiah was being hidden by divine protection, but also by the dutiful parenting of Mary and Joseph both. How did they pay for a trip all the way to Egypt? Well, they had just been given gold, frankincense, and myrrh. That's how a poor family is able to make an international trip in the middle of the night. The Magi have come to adore the Lord. Now, why would people from foreign lands come to adore the King of the Jews? What did the King of the Jews have to do with them? So what, King of the Jews? Why didn't they just adore Herod the Great? No, because the prophecy given to the Gentiles was that the King of the Jews was going to be their king too. They were adoring their own king, the King of the Jews who become the King of the Gentiles. That was their prophecy. That's why they had come to adore. This was no ordinary king. This king, this Messiah, was the anointed one. He was the anointed one. He was going to be anointed as a king. He himself was going to be a prophet, and he was going to be a priest. Now, what would Gentiles have to do with Jewish priests? Was Jesus a priest according to the order of Levi? No, he was not in the family of Levi. He was in the family of Judah. He was a priest according to the order of Melchizedek. The priesthood according to the order of Melchizedek predates Abraham, the father of faith. Predates Abraham. The priesthood of Melchizedek is not a Jewish priesthood. It is a priesthood of broader consideration. The priesthood of Levi is a Jewish priesthood. The priesthood of Jesus is according to the order of Melchizedek, and that priesthood applies both to the Jews and to the Gentiles equally. When the Magi come to adore this priest, they are adoring their own priest. When they're adoring this king, they are adoring their king. When they are adoring this prophet, yes, he was going to be a prophet both to the Jews and to the Gentiles. Therefore, this feast of the Epiphany is a feast of the Gentiles. And we are, in some way, spiritually speaking, Gentiles. We are succeeding the faith that was first given by prophecy and their own effort to the Magi who came to adore the child. Therefore, we are adoring the child through them, and this feast is in some way, therefore, our feast too. In the fullness of time, they were given a revelation of God's incarnation. And in the fullness of time, we too, personally, are given a revelation of God's mighty incarnation that continues to this very day in the holy sacraments of the Church. Maybe we didn't have a miraculous star to lead us to the doors of the church, but maybe we had other things to lead us, other miracles to lead us here, to this great encounter with God himself, who is our King, our prophet, and our priest. Hallelujah.
Omnipotent,
Dominus vobiscum,
et cum spiritu tuo.
oremus.
Reges falsis, et in sole et Et omnia secula seculorum. Amen. Dominus vobiscum. Et cum spiritu tuo. Suum corda. Amen. Dominum. Gratias accamus Domino Deo nostro. Divinum et justum es. Et dignum et justum et secum et salutare. Nos tibi semper divique gratias accede. Domine Sancte Pater omnipotens aeterne Deus, qui ac cum unigenitus tuus in substantia nostre mortalitatis apparuit, nova nos immortalitatis sue lucere parabit, et ide cum angelis et archangelis, cum tronis et dominationibus, cumque omni meritia celestis exercitus, hymnum gloriae Tuae canimus, sine fine dicentes. per omnia saecula saeculorum. Amen. Oremus, precepti salutaribus moniti, et divinam institutione formati, ademus dicere, Pater noster, qui es in celis, sanctificetur nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua, sicut in cielo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis odie, et dimite nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimittivos debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo. Per omnia saecula saeculorum. Amen. Pax Domini et semper vobiscum. Et cum spiritu tuo. Agnus Dei, Christus Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccata mundi, miserere nobis. Agnus Dei, Santa Virgin, Epiphany, Beatino Baptiste, Sancti Apostles Pedro, Paolo, Paulus, Sancti Trinitatis, Via Paganiis, Cosmetum, Via Via Maxima Fruta, Via Verbo, Beatum, Santa Virgin, Beatino Baptiste, Sanctus Apostles Pedro, Paolo, Paulus, Sanctus Trinitatis, Ora gloria Domini Deus.
Esagerate per essere nomi per non essere usate per spiegare i nostri per dire per essere di tenere per non essere da di San Lorenzo in questo. Ece agnus edin, ece quetarit peccatamunt, domine non sundinus in pres subjectum, setantum negi verbat sanabitur animam, domine non sundinus in pres subjectum, setantum negi verbat sanabitur animam, domine non sundinus in pres subjectum, setantum negi verbat sanabitur animam. Dominus vobiscum.
Et sunt spiritus
Oremus, prestaquesimus omnipotens Deus, utque solemni celebramus officio, purificate mentis, intelligentia consequatur, per Dominum nostrum Iesum Christum Filium Tuum, qui tecum vivere regnat Trinitate Spiritus Sancti Deus, per omnia saecula saeculorum. Amen. Dominus vobiscum. Et cum spiritu tuo. Pater et Filius et Spiritus Sanctus.